reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
You're logging into your favorite game, grinding out some gear. A couple of points added to your stats, and you have a virtual beer. Max level is pretty cool, but I'll remind you here, my friend. These games are not about the goal, it's about the journey and not the end.
You're listening to MMO Reporter, brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter. And by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapon with Doghouse Systems.
Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at. Don't forget about your ults you need.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of MMO Reporter. This is episode 265. I'm Chris and I am joined by the ever so eloquacious Mr. at MMO Bill. Hello Bill, how are you doing today?
The eloquacious. I guess you could say that I'm just happy thrilled to be here.
There you go. That's so is that the distant cousin of hella thrilled?
I'm thinking that I thought we were just mashing words together, so maybe that's just what I'll do the rest of the show.
You noticed that I made that up, huh?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you did it very well.
Did I sound smart?
You sound. Is that shining? That's weird. It's so bright.
Thanks, Bill.
Shiny lights.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, you're welcome.
We have got not much news to talk about this week, but we do have some fun stuff that we have done in games in the last little while. At least I do.
I was going to say, are you sure about that?
I am sure about that. Bill, why don't you talk about the little bits that you managed to sneak in between your holidays?
Yeah, so I wasn't trying to snark on any games I played. It's just that it's summer holidays are eating into game time. I camped a lot. I enjoyed the outdoors. I put my feet in the ocean and saw seals playing in off the beach, and we watched the cruise ships go by. Oh, it was gorgeous. Real life is a great MMO.
Exciting.
We had a big group. We had a raid of like 10 of us there, so that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it was good. So we had a little bit of outdoor camping and everything like that on the beach. That was nice. When I finally got home, played. I didn't really play anything. I fired up Guild Wars 2 because I knew there was a patch, and we're going to talk about that in a bit shortly. And I fired it up. I downloaded the patch. I moved my guy from one place to another and logged out in exhaustion.
But this patch matters very little to you. We'll talk about a little bit about what was in this patch in a little bit. We talked about last week, right? But you're not pushing the new story, right? No,
I've still got story quest catch up to do, and I'm really eager to do it. It's just a matter of coordinating. Like I've got this, I don't want to say unspoken, but lightly spoken agreement with my wife that I'm not going to charge ahead in the story quest for Guild Wars 2 without her, because this is kind of something that we've run together. We've done all the quests together and everything like that, and it just makes it a little more fun and interesting. And that's our together mode. Makes in sense. Guild Wars 2. Everything else we solo, or we will bound off and we'll grind up whatever mastery levels we're trying to get and everything like that on our own. That's fine, but this is our paired up thing. So anyway, yeah, so that was my Guild Wars 2 time. I've been doing a little bit more Overwatch. I keep playing Overwatch with the intention of playing like one or two games, put like 15, 20 minutes in or something like that, and then go do something else. And then like a couple hours have gone by, and it's like, dang.
It's your Civ 5 replacement.
I have to be at work in like 4 hours. Crap.
Those times suck when you finally get to that point, right?
And I'm pretty much doomed too, because this is my Civ 5 symptoms now, and Civ 6 is like knocking down the door as we speak. And that's going to be basically just doomed. I mean, there's going to be a World of Warcraft patch coming as well that's probably going to have a similar effect if history is any indicator.
Well, an expansion, you mean, not patch.
Did I say patch? I meant expansion.
You did say patch.
Yeah, hopefully it's a little bit more than a patch. But I mean, I'm doomed. I don't get to sleep anymore. It's like I feel like I've traveled back in time and had children again. Poor children.
Poor guy. Okay.
Games are way better than children, by the way, because you can turn the game off. Chris. Just say, Chris, what have you been doing this week?
I've done plenty, actually. I spent the last few days actually running my way through all of the Season 3 stuff. And I'm not going to talk about, I'm showing a little bit of video, but it's just a fight. It's not going to be any story steps or anything like that. So
that basically
don't worry.
Just ruins it. I can't even.
But I have now gone through all of this first chapter. I would say that if you're really pushing it and you get a good group, because there's a time sink chunk in there, similar to Heart of Thorns, where you have to train a mastery, basically. And so that's a time sink. And if you get a good group and you do a few events, that's going to take you no time. But I was a little slower. I did most of it solo. I didn't go in and get a huge group or anything like that. So it took me a little bit longer. It took me about, I'd say, 3.5 hours of playtime. I think you could probably, if you push it, you could probably do this in 1.5 to 2, but you have to be hauling and have a plan and approach it kind of that way. You know how some power levelers go through new expansions?
Are you talking about with the mastery, or are you talking about the entire story quest?
With this entire chapter of the story. But I think really realistically for most people, you're looking at 3+ hours.
Now, is it like usually the story quests will have achievements that where they expect you to kind of rerun it and get different approach it differently, hit the different achievements in different ways. So I'm assuming that'll add at least a little bit of playtime to get those achievements.
This is not finishing all the content. This is not doing all the events, getting all the achievements for and unlocking the full entirety of the new zone. This is simply running through the story. Okay. So that's been taking up most of my time. It's funny because I haven't done my personal story with this character. I did it on my Revenant, and I haven't done the personal story. So when I did end up finishing, I got another quest, and it had just automatically added the next step of my personal story. I thought it was sending me all the way back to like original parts of Tyria. But no, it was just that I was back on my personal story. The entire chapter was done. I will say at the end, I was doing a little bit of wow, like the what they set up for the rest of this season. I am excited. I will take time. I will be sick days of work. No, I won't. Employers, I will never, ever do that. I will only ever take days off when I'm actually sick. Sorry, now that I've covered that. I will take days off sick to be able to play the next chapter. It was that good. I enjoyed it that much.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I think this was masterfully crafted, very story-driven as Guild Wars 2 can be, and expertly crafted, I would think. Some of the fights, again, I'm not the most highly skilled MMO player that's ever been, so I sometimes struggle with some of the fights in every game. I was actually just talking about that with Riders of Icarus. Somebody commented on my review on YouTube saying, the class I chose was really it had a high barrier of success because of the skill needed to play it. It was very anticipatory in the combat style.
Yeah.
And that's not me. So I had some fights that took me 5-10 minutes to finally whittle down the boss. But that's probably me. And I found those annoying. But again,
I noticed that a lot more now too. when they like class designs, quests, and I'm finding in an MMO, persistence isn't really enough anymore. Like there's a lot of design going in different games where your ceiling is really determined by kind of your I don't want to call it twitchiness, but certainly your skill. That an average keyboard turner is not ever going to contribute. Like back in World of Warcraft days, I wouldn't go as far as to say that your average keyboard turner could throw out the same DPS as somebody who was an absolute expert. But the difference between the two, as long as you weren't doing anything horrendously dumb, it was not as great as you see in, I think, more modern MMOs. Like in a more modern MMO, the DPS output from someone who's just zoned in and really skilled is going to be wildly different than someone who just understands their rotation and can just stand in the right spot, and that's it.
I will say, though, that running through this chunk of content on my Revenant has made me a better Revenant player. I'm better at knowing which legends I can slot that require me to jump back and forth between them as my profession power gets down, and which ones I can ride and what time to go. Like, for example, when I put my dragon legend, right? And so I've got the glyphs that I pop up, right? Well, I know that, okay, once I do this, I'll pop the first two. I can maintain that, keep, doing basic damage, not popping too many of my abilities, and my power will go up. And then I know I can burst. I'll pop the third one, and then burst a whole bunch. Once I'm almost out of power, I pop 3 and 2, and that gives me heals and extra damage and a little bit of an AoE, and then my little DPS burst is done, and then I ride that back up again.
Yeah,
and so it's a lot of. Yeah.
Revenant I noticed that a lot with, because again, you could be a decent Revenant if you just play, if you do your auto attack, and if you don't stand in the poop and all that kind of stuff. But if you precisely time your rotation and you always stand in the right spot and you're always moving and following the fight and everything like that, and you get all your abilities, and we're talking like 10 abilities in a row or something like that, knocked out at exactly the right time, that's your optimal DPS. And it's actually a little bit staggering how much you can output like that, but you have to be precise, and I rarely hit it, but when I do, it just feels like $1,000,000.
Yeah, and there's some legends that you have to pop back and forth between them, because each time you pop to the different one, you go back to 50%. Whereas, that's a lot of fun. Anyways, so that was my time was in Guild Wars 2. Most of the time, streamed a heck of a lot. I stream actually usually Monday to Thursday, like 8:30 till noon or so. And I've been getting some wonderful people coming and hanging out there in that stream. I have also been playing some Crowfall, mostly tonight. Oh. I got to jump into Crowfall as they had a West Coast server test. A couple things that have changed in there that were really cool. Number one, the textures in the world sort of environments. First of all, the draw distance is much further. Second of all, they've changed it from being this perpetual dusk to sort of a more, which was a very bluish color, like a bluish night dusk sort of palette. And now there's much more orange and brown just to the world without any of the abilities. And I was lucky they brought back Siege Perilous. It was Hunger Dome for the past few weeks. Now they've brought back Siege Perilous. So I got to play, and I'm showing right now to the video viewers, my time on a ballista. And I also got to play with a catapult. And go out there and fight. Really reiterating, and I talked about this in the stream, my thought that this is not going to be a game for a solo player. Like a lot of MMOs that I play, I'm basically solo. I run through, I get groups when I need to, but I kind of do my own thing. That's not going to work. And even in these small scale tests where we're looking at maybe 50 players, I think we're doing, the biggest group I got in was 24 on 24. And you have to organize. The guilds that are in there just simply do better.
And I could see that being a thing like the parallel I'm drawing, of course, because it's what I'm playing, I think, but is Overwatch, where Overwatch, I mean, technically you can play first-person shooters and you can go rogue and that kind of thing, but when you play Overwatch as a solo player, you're basically you're hurting yourself and you're hurting your team. And from everything, I mean, obviously I haven't played Crowfall yet, but I've obviously been following it, and everything I've read says that that's absolutely going to be the case in Crowfall. Like, if you want to be your solo uber kill lord carry player, you're going to be in for really harsh disappointment in what you can get away with in Crowfall.
Yeah, because they're looking at a time to kill of around 45 seconds for against players. That's enough time for almost everyone to come over and help, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to burst enough to just stun lock someone and take them out, because they're going to have other people around them, even if you skirt the edges. And that's one of the things I was finding during today's fight, is the group that we were fighting against, they were pushing us back, pretty much spawn camping us at one point. And I tried to get to their flanks. And mind you, I'm a druid class, which has some good DPS when I switch to the damage power tray, but it's a healer class as well. So it's not the most bursty type of DPS. But I couldn't do anything because they were watching their flanks.
And that's the trick. I mean, you talk about a 45-second time to kill. That's if you have 10 people attacking you all at once and they're coordinated, 45 seconds turns into under 5 seconds pretty darn fast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's where you're going to see the skill, when you have a big group that can zero in on one target and burn down one target at a time really fast, rather than just kind of a Zerg that sort of pushes in and everybody picks their favorite target. It's pretty obvious pretty fast which side is going to win. And then you can see that, I mean, you can even see that back in the day of good World of Warcraft PvP players. Or
I'm sure Dark Age of Camelot too, right?
And especially in Dark Age of Camelot. I can't tell you how many times I've been in the Albion Zerg running with 50 people and a good group of 10 coordinated players just mowed everybody down.
Yeah.
Because they would pick the high danger targets, bang, 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 right now, and then they'd actually have their target priority set, and everybody would be zeroed in attacking the same thing at the same time, and players would drop quickly, whereas everyone else was just randomly picking whoever they could tab target first. And anyway.
Yeah.
Just saying, I could see that forming up in Crowfall, and I don't see that as a bad thing. I'm actually kind of excited, and I hope that the community supports it well, that it's going to be easy to slide in with other groups in a non-toxic way and that kind of thing. So far, the Crowfall community doesn't seem to have that toxicity, but again, we're also talking about a early development.
Right.
Exactly. Well, no, it's in full alpha now.
They're still calling it pre-alpha.
Yeah,
I know. I
mean, when they're letting in the phase 3 alpha players, I think have a hard time buying that.
Their thought is the minute they can get a campaign up, then they're alpha. Right now they're doing pre-alpha because they're just doing segments of the game. Once they get a campaign of any sort, then that's alpha. Beta is when it's core systems are done and you're just balancing stuff and fixing bugs and making sure everything works. And then you've got a soft launch from there. Yeah,
and we're going to talk about this later in the show as well, but just because you don't want to call it something doesn't mean it's not that thing.
Yeah, well, I you know what? I kind of agree with them on this point because it's just systems that they're testing. It's not an iteration of the game. That, to me, that's when it becomes alpha. But that's just me. That's semantics, I think. Yeah.
It self-identifies as pre-alpha, so yes, you can't really argue that.
All right. Last thing that I did is I did play some Lotro. And I ran in there, and I have to say, after playing Guild Wars 2 and the action combat in there, and then Crowfall, so actiony there as well, jumping into Lotro was a whole different experience. Because there, I'm just doing my rotation. I'm play a warden, so I'm building my gambits, running through, doing the rotation, standing still, not really moving. I move, but it doesn't really matter. I'm not getting position.
Well, and that's the thing, even in Lotro, like the Warden is clearly the most complicated combo class that you can play in terms of getting your abilities right and everything like that. And even that is, I don't want to say it's dirt simple compared to everything else these days, but it's not.
It's I find the Warden easier than like my champion that I play, because all I do is run in and do my AoE lifesteal. And then I might do my self-heal, and then I do AoE lifesteal, and then I DPS.
Yeah.
And I have to remember the different combos, but I don't use all the different gambits. I use maybe 4 or 5 regularly, and there's like 15 or 20 gambits. So
yeah. And for me, when I always treated my Warden as like, this is okay, now I'm going to challenge myself for a while and play my Warden. And then when I'm really feeling like, okay, I just need to monkey stomp something, that's when I pull my Captain out and just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, go take a break while my pet burns down, whatever I started, come back.
Yeah.
Or just like even in skirmishes, you could go AFK for almost the entire skirmish, and
if you've got a trained skirmish soldier, yeah,
a decent soldier and your pet out, and you're basically able to create or run a bottom tier skirmish with hardly any participation. Anyway, that's
so I did do that and streamed for a while this morning as well. That was a lot of fun. We're actually starting something on Lotro Reporter where we're going to try to have me running through parts of the game, doing just questing basic stuff that doesn't take too much work, and invite some of our listeners to come out and hang out with us in game as we go through stuff. We'll see whether or not it takes off. But if you're a Lotro player and you play on Brandywine or Landraval, keep an eye out for the Lotro Reporter Twitter and this Twitch page, and you'll be able to see it. So there you go. That's what we have been doing in game. Hey, Bill, do you know who my favorite people in the world are?
Smurfs.
Yes, you got that right. But my second favorite are our patrons over at patreon.com/MMO Reporter. If you want to help us keep the lights on, if you want to help us keep streaming, keep making videos, keep making these wonderful podcasts, then you need to check out patreon.com/MMO Reporter and become one of our patrons. There you'll be able to see the goals that we have for the network and for our fundraising campaign, as well as the rewards that you get as a patron. So you should go check it out at patreon.com/MMO Reporter.
Is all you have to do to make the raid, then you wouldn't be a noob, and you'd pew pew, 'cause you didn't.
All right, Bill. Guild Wars 2 Out of the Shadows is now officially live. We did talk about that in what we've done in games, but we also have a link now to the official patch notes in case you're interested in that sort of stuff. Maybe you'd like to check out all the patch notes and see some cool stuff that's going on there. What are some things that kind of jumped out at you?
Well, I mean, aside from what we talked about last week with the new fractals and obviously the story ads and the new PvP map, they also have all the class updates, which are pretty significant. Elementalists, there's actually a lot of elementalists that are very sad now because they seem to have eaten a few nerfs. The Revenant didn't seem to get nerfed, which is really confusing. I'm not sure how that happened.
I'm okay with that.
It's weird. Like it's almost like the rain is falling up instead of down. I don't get it. But anyway, it happened. It actually looked like they were trying to push a little bit more on the healing abilities that you get with the Ventari soul and that kind of thing. So that was good. Thief, I was sad to see that they got a little bit of staff nerfage there because I really enjoyed my Ninja Staff Thief.
Yeah, wasn't that your favorite since the launch of Heart of Thorns?
Well, and here's the thing, because going into Heart of Thorns, I had just finished crafting this really nice Ascendant Dagger for my Thief because I thought, oh, what's a Thief without a dagger? That's just ridiculous. Right. And sure enough, Heart of Thorns comes out, and I love the staff attacks and the staff abilities and that kind of thing. And I fall in love with dual pistols as well. And all of a sudden, I have no place to put my little Ascended dagger, which is awesome. Or which was awesome. But now maybe if staff is nerfed a little bit and they've... and some of the other changes in there, I might try my dagger build again and see what happens.
Always good to try. They made quite a few changes to everything. I mentioned it last week. I think Guardian got a good pass for PvP stuff, at least. So there's lots of stuff there. Talks about Revenge of the Capricorn. I also streamed that to a couple of one match of that and one match of some other PvP. Got my ass handed to me by warriors absolutely constantly. And of course... didn't get into the fractals because I wasn't looking for a group today, but lots of stuff that's cool. I know I had a couple of conversations with people on Twitter about my enjoyment of the story of this particular chapter, and I hope that the rest of it matches. It should be pretty cool. The other thing I wanted to mention, I found that saw this on Massively OP is where I found it, but at the very bottom of the patch notes, there's a little note that now you're going to be able to have a new type of decoration for guild halls that will allow you to honor fallen guild members. So you're going to get 3 new decorations: a basic grave marker, a basic signpost, and a basic commemorative statue. So they're monuments, decorations that have a custom player inscriptions. When placing a monument, you'll be prompted to enter the inscription, which can be up to 140 characters in length. Once placed, the inscription can be read by interacting with the monument. To change an inscription, the monument must be removed and replaced, and you can only have a total of 50 monuments placed in their guild hall at one time. And it's a new permission called Monument Decorator that whoever wants to move it will have to have. I think this is absolutely huge, especially with a Lotro player that recently passed away, and they had an in-game memorial. This is going to be a great way for Guild Wars 2 guilds to...
Well, and it's a permanence thing. I think the big thing that people have latched onto is that it is a way that you can actually create a monument to somebody that you've played with, and that kind of thing. But I mean, it's got a lot of, it can be used in a lot of different ways. That's not the only way that you can use it. I mean, some people there's lots of role-playing capabilities that you can do with this. You can set up kind of a little... well, you almost set it up. One of the examples I read about was a custom jumping puzzle that's been built, having some notes on that, on the creator of the jumping puzzle or the designer and that kind of thing. So there's lots of things in there. Anyway, it gets down to something that people have been clamoring for in Guild Wars 2 for ages, which is kind of that permanence in housing. Like people, that's always been seen as the end thing. And obviously the guild halls that were added with Heart of Thorns are a nice step towards that. And this is just another, is layering on top of what they've already built there. So it's a good ad, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So if you're interested in checking out the patch notes or seeing a little bit more about the monuments, we'll have links in the show notes. I remember a long time ago, Bill, talking about Starcraft Universe. Do you remember that conversation at all?
I do remember. It was a big deal. We were just so upset about Big Bad Blizzard stomping out the little guy for no good reason, and how this was a good idea that just died on the vine, and it was sad.
Yeah, a little bit. It was, and again, you were mentioning in the pre-show, a little bit of hints of the Nostralia server here, but you know what, Bill? Is back.
It is back. Yeah, so StarCraft Universe is officially in open beta now. Now, the form that it is taken is that it's a full-on StarCraft 2 mod. It's only accessible by having and playing StarCraft through Battle.net, but it's the StarCraft Universe MMO set in kind of a post... what was the name of the expansion that it follows? It's the one where Kerrigan kind of
Wings of Liberty.
Yeah, so basically the end of the StarCraft 2
Yeah, the
story.
Space Marine, not the Space Marine, the Terran expansion, because they had the three right for one for the Terrans, one for the Protoss. Oh my gosh, I can't say anything, and one for the Zerg.
Mm-hmm. So now it's carried on, and it's going to be an interesting. I don't know. I think this is a nice ad. I'm curious to try this out. Now the thing that actually got me on the trailer that made me take a double and a triple take is that it desperately sounded like Optimus Prime was narrating the whole thing, and I thought I instantly had to buy like 4 of these just to make sure.
All right, let me play a little bit here so that people can hear this. Here we go.
Our fleet sailed beyond the known. As explorers, caretakers, warriors, outcasts. While our predators burned our worlds to ash.
All right.
So tell me that does not make you think that this is a big red semi-truck just telling you the sad story of his people.
Autobots, roll out.
But no, the actor is actually Eric Dieter, and he's had some history voicing StarCraft and that kind of thing. Anyway, it's not to take it away. It's obviously voiced brilliantly. I really enjoyed that. It sounded awesome, and it looked really good too.
Even the Peter Cullen inflections, right?
Yeah. I like to believe that he's channeling his inner Optimus Prime for that.
Yeah. Now I'm guessing
if you had to channel something, I mean, why not Optimus?
And we disagreed a little bit in the pre-show about the original reason why Blizzard shut this down, and I thought, and maybe our listeners can correct me or correct Bill. I'm at this point I'm not sure which one of us is right, but I seem to remember that the original plan was for Starcraft Universe to be a standalone game, to not require owning or installing any part of StarCraft or World War, anything like that. It was going to be its own standalone thing, built on some of the assets that had come from StarCraft. Mm-hmm. And I think, Bill, you weren't quite sure about that.
That's not exactly what I remembered. Now, to be fair, I haven't Googled this, so forgive my lack of research here if I'm wrong, or forgive Chris's for blah, blah, blah. I remembered this as, just random disclaimer, it's Canadian politeness, sorry in advance, blah, blah, blah. I remembered this as being developed as part of as basically a very advanced StarCraft mod. And that was kind of how it was going to play. Like, it was going to be its own standalone thing. And I think the piece that Blizzard, I think in the end objected to, is they wanted to make sure it was played through Battle.net, which is, of course, where Blizzard wants everything to go through as much as humanly possible. And I think they saw this as kind of maybe slipping out of their IP slipping out of that ecosystem. So they stomped it out initially, the same way they stomped out the Nostalria server and everything like that. But then they started working with the team doing StarCraft Universe, and obviously it got built back up again, and here we are. So it's a sanctioned Blizzard animal living in the Blizzard ecosystem, but is still a cool third-party made game, MMO. So, and again, the parallel that we're drawing to this is, of course, to Nostalrius, where Blizzard put the big monkey stomp down onto the very successful Nostalrius environment. It seemed like they were just coming in and throwing their weight around and being the bad guys, but the latest spin on it is that they're trying to work with the Nostalrius people to kind of do what they were doing, but doing it in a Blizzard way. Now, we haven't seen any evidence of that, wild speculation alert and everything like that, but that does seem to be the trend. So where I'm kind of going with this is that the obvious step to take with Blizzard is just like a marriage, is that you ask forgiveness, not permission. So Chris and I have decided that we're going to be starting an MMO based on Overwatch.
Yep.
And I think we're going to call it something like Project Mighton.
Something like
right?
that, or probably Project Flighton,
writing, maybe. Like, I've got the writing. I'm writing about this.
Sighton, maybe.
Anyway, we'll hash it out.
Yeah.
We'll do a little bit of brainstorming, but I figure we get started on that. We publish it, and Blizzard stomps us out mercilessly in about 2 or 3 years, and then coddles us along, and we release it through Battle.net, and everyone's happy.
Exactly. Do you think that'll work?
What could possibly go wrong?
Do you think it'll work?
Oh, I have absolutely no doubt.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Let's move things along a little bit here. It's the whole point that we're talking about StarCraft Universe is that it's been resurrected, got a Kickstarter, and it's now playable through Battle.net via StarCraft 2 Arcade. There you go. All right, let's move along to our sponsors. Audible, go to audiblepodcast.com/MMO Reporter if you want to try out the world's best audiobook provider. You can go there using audiblepodcast.com/MMO Reporter, and you will be able to sign up for 1 month free. You just sign up, put all your information in, and you will get 1 credit for a book. You download that book, you add it to your account. Even if you cancel after you've done that, you get to keep that book forever. You can log into your account and download it whenever you want. So go check it out, audiblepodcast.com/MMO Reporter. And of course, our friends over at Doghouse Systems, go to doghousesystems.com, use the coupon code MMO Reporter, and you can add a 120 gig SSD to your purchase. So whatever you get, you just slap another 120 gig SSD on top of that, and that is what you'll get just for using the coupon code MMO Reporter. So don't forget to check out our favorite boutique PC maker, doghousesystems.com. Pull that boss when your healer yells out of mana. Pull that world boss out of party. Run through trash, you'll be sorry. Take a bio break without announcing. They may not rhyme, but they're quite possibly the dumbest ways to die. Now, Bill, how excited are you about Shroud of the Avatar? Is this a game that you have been watching faithfully and anticipating their next steps?
No, not at all. No, it's always been a kind of a point of curiosity for me. I didn't jump on the Ultima Online bandwagon back in the day. I barely played any of the Ultimate games or anything like that. So this is not a universe that I really lived in very much. But I don't know. I mean, it's one of the very few, I don't want to call it a AAA MMO, but it's certainly a big ticket, relatively speaking, to everyone else. So it deserves attention and curiosity. That was a long way of saying no.
Yeah, I'm curious about it. I'm still, though, not very sure about it. A couple different reasons. Number one, I think really it's just my graphic snobbery is coming to point here. I'm showing it's actually a stream that's live right now. If you're interested, this is PV, so twitch.tv/PEEVE that we're watching right now, and it just seems like, I don't know, Lotro level of, with a little bit more better world textures. Mm-hmm. So that throws me off a little bit. I can deal with stylized, but when it looks really, really old, I don't know why it is. It bugs me a little bit. And I'm a snob. I admit it. I'm horrible. Sorry.
Yeah, you deserve all the punishment you're heaping on yourself. I'm a lot more forgiving I'm a lot happier playing a game that's dated graphics and that kind of thing, as long as the game is actually good. It's like even Dark Age of Camelot. Those graphics are just ancient now compared to anything, but the gameplay to me that's actually where I'm tripping up with. Like, I love the nostalgia of I don't know if I can forgive the horse that moves without moving its legs, but anyway, that's a gameplay thing, because I've gotten so used to the quality of life changes that have come up with modern MMOs compared to what still are problems in Dark Age of Camelot.
Yeah,
but I love the graphics in Dark Age of Camelot still. It just pulls at my heartstrings. So yeah, I can do this if there's solid gameplay behind it. I'm okay with the graphics.
Yeah. So we saw a little bit of Shroud of the Avatar. Now, we have been informed that the final player data wipe has now occurred, so there will be no more player data wipes. So your characters are now persistent in that world. And they assure us, they have assured us, the developers, that this is not a launch. Bill, what do we think about that?
I mean, it looks like a launch. It smells like a launch. It tastes like a launch.
Yeah. So this is, it says right on it's early access for the final version of the game.
It may not be the launch, but it is a launch to pull a little wheel of time out on you there.
Yeah. So they did have a big long telethon during the downtime to prepare for this this new iteration of the game, and they wiped all of the land. One of the big things about Shroud of the Avatar, if you followed it at all, and I've looked at it a little bit, is that land parcels and owning houses and land, very much like Ultima Online, is important. And there was an expected land rush, and I hear that it did happen. They compared it to the Oklahoma land rush back when they opened up all that land and people would run out. Remember the end of that Tom Cruise and Michelle Kidman movie? No? Okay.
No.
Anyways, where they
take your word
rush
for it.
and they go to try and stake their claim on a chunk of land. Yeah. And no deaths of Lord British. Richard Garriott did not die.
Yeah, that was a thing that I noticed over on Eurogamer, that apparently this is a not quite a tradition, but it's remarkably common through the Ultimate games where players have found tricks to kill Lord British, either just immediately before or immediately after official releases. But apparently nobody even took a serious shot at him.
Wow.
This time, which I don't know. Is that a sign that Shroud of the Avatar is going to be great, or is that a bit of a curse? Or does it mean nothing?
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're interested in Shroud of the Avatar, we'll have some links there, as well as the press release that they sent us about the player data wipe. I am incredibly excited and not excited at the same time about No Man's Sky. And once again, Bill, I do believe it's my own darn fault. I'm worried that I'm so excited because I loved Wing Commander. I love these space sims. But I have been bored to tears in Elite Dangerous. I haven't really done Star Citizen. I've tried. I've gone in. I've had hardware issues like with controllers and stuff. And I'm worried that I'm so excited about a great space game, but it's too sandboxy for me. And I'm scared.
I'm not sure. So anyway, the news bits for this that make it relevant is that a couple new trailers have come out teasing the trading and gathering systems, as well as kind of teasing what's going to happen in combat in No Man's Sky, and also a little bit of bad news that it looks like another delay is creeping up on the PC version of No Man's Sky, which could push it from an August 9th, I think originally an August 6th release, which is now an August 9th release, which is now actually August 12th release on the PC. So anyway, it's not the end of the world. It's not the 2-month pushback that we heard about 2 months ago. But anyway, I'm not sure where I am with this, because it's an exciting prospect. So if you look at just the bare bones geekery of this, where you have a spaceship, you have an unlimited universe, you have creatures being and worlds being just created for you to discover, to explore, to build yourself up, build your ship up, and create this completely sandbox experience that's essentially made for you. It's technically an MMO in the sense that it's mathematically possible that you could come across other players, but very, very unlikely. It's creating a universe for you, which just has I feel like there's so much possibility in there. But Elite Dangerous does some things very well. I love the calculation and the methodicalness. Sorry, of
methodicality.
Sure, that's the one I was looking for. That Elite has, and it fits well. It's a beautiful game to play. You do meet up with players semi-regularly, but not so much that it's onerous. It's the same kind of procedural generation. It's seamless and that kind of thing, and it has a very distinct personality. And I feel like that personality is actually very, very different than what No Man's Sky is projecting with its pre-release stuff. Like No Man's Sky really seems a lot quicker pace. It seems like a little bit more actiony, a little bit more kind of writing your not really your character's story, because you don't really have a character so much as you have a gun and a ship, and you do a bunch of stuff. The looks, I've talked about the color palette before, and it still throws me off a little bit, but I'm not going to get hung up on that. But it just feels like that there's a little bit of an emptiness. There's a risk of emptiness here, and I feel like the game's it's riding a huge wave of hype that's going to crash at some point, because I think people are going to really want some narrative. Like the Elite Dangerous is kind of run along with a minimal narrative. No Man's Sky, as far as I can tell, doesn't really have a narrative. Period. It's hanging all of its weight on the exploration and mechanics that go along with it, and maybe a level of smoothness that isn't there with Elite. And it's just there. And then you've got Star Citizen, which is just trundling along, that supposedly has a narrative, but it's not there yet. Supposedly has great exploration, but isn't there yet. Supposedly has seamless game modes where you switch between a soldier on the ground to a pilot on a giant starship, but that's not here. None of it's in my hands. So it's pie. That's all pie in the sky stuff. This genre is very attractive to me, but hasn't sold me entirely. I will be an Elite Dangerous fan forever. It didn't blow my doors off. It was Game of the Year, but to be fair, that was pretty weak Game of the Year.
Yeah.
But I still really enjoy Elite Dangerous. It's not blowing my socks off. I can feel Harry just being furious at the notion that space sims and space MMOs aren't the eventual holy grail and what we should have been aiming for all along. But I'm a little. I will play it. I hope I like it, but I'm not slavering over No Man's Sky.
I hope you like it too. I hope I like it. I hope we all like it. Okay, we've got just a little bit more to go here. If you are interested in Neverwinter, they will be adding guild alliances to Xbox One. Basically, if you're a smaller guild, you're going to be able to, your guild masters, guild leaders are going to be able to team up with other small guilds, and you'll be able to help each other out. There's a lot to do in the strongholds that's guild content, and you'll be able to go into your alliance guilds strongholds and help them with their content. They can go into yours, and you can have some help filling your coffers as well, your currency for the strongholds from these other guilds. So it's a great way to make small guilds viable, not having to merge into these mega guilds. So good on you, Perfect World, for adding this to Neverwinter, because I think it's going to be great for small guilds. All right, Bill's very interested about that. I think I heard him snoring in the background. Want to go over
Well, it's an MMO that I barely play on a platform that I've never even seen. So,
yeah. Okay, we got an email from Jonathan. Thank you, Jonathan, by the way, asking a very deep and philosophical question. Bill, are you ready?
I'm preparing my soul for a deep answer.
Is it fine if I start singing along to the intro whenever it comes on? It's about the journey and not the end. Wow. Jonathan, I have to say, the amount of times, and Bill will attest to this, that I have to edit out my own singing at the outro, at the end when it plays, when the theme plays, yeah, it's perfectly okay, and in fact, I would even say it's encouraged. I want video of people singing on the buses and having people look at them like they're crazy.
Yep, I would love to see. Yeah, send us, sing it.
I'm pretty sure I've got some swag that I could give out.
Yeah, I would love to give away prizes to people who sing the song and send us stuff.
In public spaces and have people... Yes,
You know what?
absolutely.
Even in the privacy of your own bathroom, just keep the camera at a G level, please.
Appropriate angle.
And I would love to hear people singing our song.
That would be very, very... I'm sure I've got some Lotro Reporter and MMO Reporter tea cozies. And maybe even some more actually on task stuff that I could send out. So
if somebody sends us a good one, I would expect you, Chris, to learn how to knit and make those tea cozies. our manufacturer has been lagging on those for more than a little while.
I think about 10 years now.
That would be the challenge. If our listeners can sing for us, you can knit.
You know what? I'm going to do this because... Sorry, I'm multitasking here, which I'm horrible at, because I'm curious when Mines of Moria was released for Lotro, because that's actually the year. So 8 years we have been podcasting, Bill. 8 years. Mm-hmm. Because if you remember, the last PAX, because I was thinking about this, the last PAX that I didn't go to was the year that Mines of Moria was announced. That was the first expansion for Lotro. And so we've been going since 2009 to PAX. On that note, this year will be the first year that I don't go to PAX. Bill is also not going to PAX, but we had discussed that before. But with some health issues, unfortunately, that I'm facing, another surgery at some point in the next little while, I won't be able to go just due to the health issues that's causing. So this is going to be our first PAX that only local people are going to. Carrie's still going to cover some stuff. Jason might. But Bill and I will not be there, which makes me quite sad because I love running into listeners. When we wear the shirts when we're out and about, I get at least 1 or 2 people a day that tap me on the shoulder and talk about the podcast. So yeah, I'm definitely going to miss that.
Yeah, it'll be sad to not go, but it's going to make PAX 2017 even that much better.
Somebody in the chat room mentioned that I should have a green screen behind me and that they should hologram me into PAX this year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There's
they could go all 2-pack, right? And hologram me. They just have to they have to bring like mirrored surfaces all around and a million different cameras. But they could do it totally, right? It's totally possible.
I don't see any issue. There's usually lots of room for that kind of thing.
Right. They could put me in the keynote.
Yeah.
Totally. All right, Bill, if people want to get a hold of us, send us an email like Jonathan did, which, by the way, thanks, Jonathan. How would they do that?
They can website us at MMOreporter.com. They can email us at mmo.reporter@gmail.com. They can Facebook us at facebook.com/MMOReporter. They can tweet at any of us, either at MMO_reporter for Chris, at Harry Hall for Harry Hall, or at MMO Bill for yours truly. They can voicemail at us at 616-666-6778. They can YouTube us at youtube.com/MMOReporter Network. They can Patreon us over at patreon.com/MMOReporter. And finally, if Patreon's not your thing, you can support us over at MMOReporter.com/support.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill. It was fun recording tonight, as always, and we had a few people in and out of the chat room. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us on a Thursday night. We were a little bit early. We usually record on Thursdays at 10 p.m. Pacific, but sometimes if Harry can't make it, Bill and I take advantage of the opportunity and get a little extra sleep, so we record a little earlier. Just check out our Twitter and our Twitch page. Follow our Twitch page to find out when we go live. Bill, always a pleasure.
Thank you, always. A pleasure.
Thanks to everyone who downloaded the podcast, watched the podcast, listened to the podcast, however you may consume it. We sure appreciate it. We hope that you come back for next week's show, but most importantly, we hope to see you in game.
Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at. Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOReporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOReporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.